Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday. It's May 8th. It's 2013. All signs indicate that it should be a daily. So I thought that we would do the 586th daily today, where we learn to be a better gamer. We are almost at the point where you can have one daily for every day of the year for 2 years. It's a completely arbitrary way to measure how many dailies there have been, much like people saying things. I love weird statistics. Like, if you took all the artillery shells fired in World War II and filled those shells up with water and dumped those waters out into a planet, it would be 5/8 the size of the moon. And you're like, okay, are we filling them with milk? It's like so complicated at every step. It's supposed to blow your mind. I prefer the clean, easy statistics like 8 clowns die in a fire every month. Completely made up on the spot, but still clean and easy to follow. I didn't mean to make everyone imagine a clown dying in a fire, but that's what we do on the Day 9 Daily, among other things. The particular thing among which we shall do today is look at a Terran vs. Protoss style from GuMiho, which is unusually tank heavy. It's still the Marine base, but there's tanks in there, there's fewer medevacs. Normally in Terran vs. Protoss we see bio, like Heavy Marine Marauder medevac, or mech, the Hellbat tank stuff that we saw from Straylock. Was it Straylock? Pretty sure it was Straylock. From several weeks ago. Oh, Tristan messaged me. He said, have a good daily. Stop interrupting the show, Tristan. Phone, been removed. Thank you, Tristan. Normally we see bio or mech, but this is an interesting middle zone where it's a lot of Marines, a lot of tanks, and some interesting push timings. So what we're going to do in today's daily is the following 3 things. First of all, we're going to do the same thing that we did yesterday. We're going to look at some timings. Except rather than use timings we constructed, we're going to look at timings that we grab out of replays. Second, we're going to look at a very simple opening that GuMiho is going to do with a really nice timing, and then we're going to just steal it. We're also going to be talking about why it's good in this context. And then to wrap up the daily, we'll look at a completely different alternative style game. Different opening, but still the same goal of reverting back to Marine-Tank. So in other words, we're going to see Marine-Tank in a different scenario. Yeah, I will now drink my water because I'm an organism. I love LA tap water. So good. Now, I want to come back to this idea that we were doing yesterday, which is that we started to try to write down significant timings. Most notably, when scary shit went down. So for instance, I just happen to know that around 4:45 to 6 minutes, a 4-gate hits. How do I know this? Well, if I didn't know, I can just 4-gate myself. I can just do that. So a reasonable question is, what about timings that I can't execute? What if I'm a Terran player and I really suck ass at Protoss and I want to know some timings but I can't do them myself? Well, you just do some research. So for instance, I am lucky enough in that I download all the StarCraft replays. So I have like a whole bunch of replays. I have some of the DreamHack ones. I have some from DeMuslim. I have some of the Straylock games. Here's a match from the Acer Team Story Cup. I have the Team House replay pack from Root Gaming because I donated to their house. So we have like Sage and Minigun. Now there's a number of ways to go about grabbing replays. Let's do one Terran. Okay, cool. I've just selected one of these seemingly at random. Now, I did watch this one, but if you're ever sort of low on timings and you're not quite sure what to look for just really normal, unexciting games and see if you can note really easy timings from what they're doing. So for instance, in this game that we're about to do, this is a nice old standard game between Minigun and Polt, where Minigun's just going to do an early expand. Polt's going to play kind of standardly himself, and we're just going to kind of see to ourselves when things about happen on average. Watch how warp speed we will do this. Do not go deep in timings. Go broad in timings. So for instance, you would not want to write down something like, alright, it looks like at around 1:45 he starts his first gateway, because that's not really useful. This fact is very useful, because we need to worry about not dying. So often, we can do things like this. We can break it into cheese attack timings, and we can just do some normal play timings. So this is what I'm going to do. Once again, for anyone joining right now, what we are doing is we are just trying to watch some replays that we downloaded to get a general overall idea of what is happening at various times. So, like, I'm pausing and unpausing. What about 6 minutes? Doesn't really have much. And I'm actually going to leave it at that. It doesn't really have much of anything at 6 minutes. Most Protosses won't really have much of anything at 6 minutes if they early expand. As we can see by this gentleman that doesn't have his robo facility up at all. So, I might write down that at 7 minutes, I'll actually back up to 7 minutes using my B button. Alright, cool. I'm going to use my notepads. 7 minutes. Come on, come on. Oh, God. Should have gates plus robo done. I will resize my notepad. And this is all I really need to write down, because it's all that's really relevant to me. It doesn't seem like he started any tech. Well, it looks like maybe around somewhere between 7 and 8 starts his big tech, so I will write that. Between 7 and 8. Just getting a general overall look, and I'm probably going to get another one at like 12-ish minutes, maybe 11-ish minutes. Notice I'm just looking at the Protoss right now. Ooh, this could be significant. When do we actually think these gateways will be wrapped up? Okay, cool. I'm seeing 11 minutes. He seems to be in high gear. 11 minutes. Okay. Extra gates plus 1-1 plus Colossus out. So here are some really basic things that I have written down thus far. Just some general timings to note. I might additionally note he doesn't have that many units. What I just did right now, let's see, probably took 3 to 4 minutes of time. And that's probably even longer than it would take you to open up a replay, look, blast all the way through it, and then just get kind of a feel and kind of some times. I'm literally going to close the replay now. I'm done. I did everything that I want to do. These timings we are now going to be able to use to look at this GuMiho build, to look at this Marine-Tank, because if we don't have a good sense of the timings that Protoss are doing, we have no idea what the hell we should be doing. It really doesn't make any sense. For another example, I'm going to go to this Team House replay pack. I remember there was a game in here on on Daybreak between Sage and Stefan, or Sage into Muslim. Where is it? Where is that game? Is this it? Yeah. Okay. So often this is very useful to do. I will ask another question. What are some other cheesy timings that we could figure out? The best way to know what timings kill you is just to go onto the ladder and lose. But oftentimes you can spare yourself this pain by finding other people and finding replays where they lose. Almost always, when I'm watching GSL or any other tournament or whatever, if anything significant happens, I just look at the time in the corner and just take like a mental note, like, oh wow, it's happening at 7 minutes. Oh, this is one of the main reasons why I have a good knowledge of a lot of the timings. It's just because I look a lot. It's very easy to not do that, to just be like, is he going to defend it? But of course I have to put food on the table. So here we're going to see Sage go for a really fast Dark Templar rush. Okay, when did Dark Templars arrive? If our player early expanded. Well, it looks like Dark Shrine's going to be done at around 7:40. So we should say something like 7:40 to 8 minutes. Cheesy DT harass hits. I don't need to put cheesy since I already have it written there. So this is kind of how your notes should look. If you're looking for a place to do notes, just go to Google Docs and make a spreadsheet or something like that. No reason to overcomplicate things. Keep them in a notebook. I used to like physical notebooks. I'm now getting sort of more onto the online storing of things. And this makes both analyzing and adjusting your play very easy. So what we're going to do now is actually look at the build. Let's see, Group F, GuMiho Sage. This is the first one I want to do. Ah, fantastic. So, in short, what we're going to see GuMiho do is do this a 1-1-1 formation, 1 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport, and he's going to be going for the Widow Mine medevac drop play. Do we lose sound? Why are you typing 0 in the chat? Sound okay? Okay. Who's typing 0 and 1 in chat? Tricked me. For you dear archive viewers, if people start spamming 0 in the chat, it's the sign that I have lost sound. Cool. Fix it. This is from DreamHack Stockholm 2013. GuMiho in the bottom left, Root Gaming's Sage up in the top right. Notice how cleverly I'm keeping a small set of potential players. Oh. Alright, cool. Alright, so let's take a look at the GuMiho cam. He's going to be doing this Mine Marine Medevac drop fast. And then he is going to be transitioning into this tank play. We'll actually get the chance to see how some of these timings can be good. I'm actually going to throw out a couple of additional timings. Around 7 minutes is a early expand gateway pressure. It generally hits around 7 to, I'll say, 7:30. 7:30 is actually a little bit late, but here's another useful timing. Some other cheesy attacks. What are some other useful ones? About 10 minutes at 2 base, Colossus, Stalker all-in hits. So we're just going to note some of these things. These are just some timings that I have. So, let's look at what GuMiho does. He's going to be going Refinery, Barracks right away. We might say, well, geez, do these sort of builds have vulnerabilities against someone who goes Zealot Stalker and just pressures really fast? Well, if you wanted to know that, you could easily just open up a single-player game and test it out and all that good jazzy jazzness. So this build is actually quite easy to do. Marine factory, just continual marine production, and then when the factory is done, we step right on into the medevac, or excuse me, the starport production. A mine comes out right away. This mine will be done plenty in time for a 4-gate. So that is a little bit of assistance that we get. Very late scout. A stalker will be out by now. And I actually think there's the stalker that's out right now. So GuMiho is essentially just trying to find what position his opponent could possibly be in. So we have one mine that arrives right on time for some of that normal early pressure. Now, GuMiho did do reactor and then cancel here. I don't care so much if you do go for the reactor or don't. I mean, it's not ultra fixed in stone the way that, for instance, some of Naniwa's builds are that are super precise. This is GuMiho just going, oh geez, this is a mothership core up here. And in about a minute, I might be a little bit worried about a 4-gate. Because I know my timings. But GuMiho just essentially gets all these buildings up. And the last piece to his puzzle is getting up an expansion. Command Center is the last part on this bit. Here's the reactor coming down.
are under attack.
Our SCV fortunately spotted this, so we can actually sort of see why the scout timing existed. We don't know whether we can move out with these Marines or not, because we're at the 6-minute mark. If we left to go do a drop, a Forgate would literally walk up and kill us in our main base, and we would be in terrible position. However, we can see clearly why the SCV scout timing occurred. Because he should be able to identify where his opponent is at a very timely time is what I was going to say, but I'm realizing that that might be a little bit worse than just saying he's scouting to scout before the 6-minute mark so we can see the expand. And it's very easy to say, well, I mean, if that's the case, why didn't he scout after barracks? Why didn't he scout on like 15 supply? Why did he wait until like 20-some? Because GuMiho is not going to change his build at all if he scouts earlier. If he scouts earlier and sees nothing in the main base, implying a sort of proxy, still won't really change GuMiho's build. It will change the fact that GuMiho will likely be building Hellions rather than more mines. He might be going for Banshee after that, but he will have known. This SCV scout lines up very nicely. So now, I will even pull back to demonstrate GuMiho's camera, because this is significant in regards to these timings. So there he is building his thing, and there's the SCV dying, and he sees it, and immediately the next thing he does is move out. Immediately the next thing he does is move out. I'm sure many people know that, okay, this is a cool attack. Medevac filled with dudes. Not nearly as cool as GuMiho identifying, aha, now's the time to move out, and then beginning to move out. And this move out, very safe. Very, very safe. Saw the stalkers back here. Knows Warp Gate is not done yet. So here comes GuMiho. And meanwhile, back in the main base, getting add-ons galore with nothing at the front. He knows he is safe because only really a Forgate would be attacking right now. And GuMiho, if I told you he's going Marine Tank, he does some of the logical steps. Gets the reactor barracks and the factory tech lab right away. If there was any fear about DTs, which we'll see later on, boom! Tech lab Raven, easy peasy. And of course we would have time to get that tech lab in Raven because 740 is around when 2-base Dark Templar strikes. So okay, he's beginning to move out. Back home, just rounding out all the necessary things, buildings, engineering bay. And suddenly we also see another very valuable timing from this medevac. Early expand gateway pressure would be going on between 7 and 7:30. We are striking before that. So in essence, we defeat that play with this attack. And we saw the Stargate. Okay, cool. Now we know what is up. We know exactly what's going to go down. GuMiho just pulls back comfortably. Most Marine Maraudering players go a little bit add-on crazy, try to get the add-ons up as fast as possible, especially for Stim and Combat Shield. GuMiho is not going to do that. This is going to be just a really nice timing play that relies more on Combat Shield than on Stim. So just producing them tanks. We do some wiggling and worming around to try to save our dudes. Also, further note that in the case of some gateway pressure, we still have this force right around the time that some delayed gateway pressure would strike in this range. This thing is what I was trying to highlight but kept whiffing. So, alright, nice.
Upgrade complete.
Now here is where some of our timings can get a little tossed off. You know, I'm looking at this like, you know, around between 7 and 8 he starts some kind of tech. That was for some of the normal plays. 11 should have some Colossus. He should have some rounded outness of his tech. Total approximations in this circumstance, but we just want to make sure that we're a little bit aware. Like, oh, right now we're at 8 minutes. I guess my opponent should be trying to get some sort of tech up in a normal play. Since he's doing an unusual Stargate play, this is going to be at the very least later than what it is, than what it would have been in a normal game. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Here's just a really nice play from GuMiho.
Our SCV
Kind of an unusual
under
timing.
attack.
Going for the combat shield first, massing Marines, almost no medevacs. Medevacs at 2, excuse me, at 1. I was looking at the tanks. Don't even have Vespene Geysers here at the expansion. Would generally have at least 1, maybe 2, if you're doing a normal Marine Marauder medevac type play. And then just goes to make a nice big ol' push. This is going to line up with the +1 infantry. It's going to line up with the combat shield. And our goal is to strike our opponent before, I don't know, any of his big tech pops up. Seems kind of reasonable. If in a normal play, he would be getting all his stuff done at around 11 minutes, we're in kind of an unusual situation, so he should be, at the very least, worse off than that. This is this idea of relative timing, that if you'd say, okay, if my Protoss plays totally defensively, he's going to get a bunch of stuff fast. If you attack him and mess him up, if he attacks you and messes up, if he does some other attack and then comes back, it's going to bump all his stuff back. So you can look to the ideal case for him as the earliest possible time. It's not that at 11 minutes, he does get all this stuff always. It's, in the best case scenario, he should have about this at 11 minutes. So, on the surface, much like yesterday when we looked at Naniwa's play, on the surface this looks kind of like GuMiho just pushing with combat shield and pushing with +1. However, this build order is structured such that GuMiho will be arriving to the front lines right at a time when Protoss has just gotten his stuff done, not before Protoss is in a super powerful state. He hasn't been able to use those extra gateways. We're going to see GuMiho just wreck face right now. No stim, because no stim's needed. So I talked quite a bit about timings. We're going to see GuMiho just clean up here. Hallucinated Colossus not really going to do anything. A very careful push. Not going to get too overeager. So we've been talking a lot about timings. I want to back up a little bit and talk about strategy for just a moment. Yeah, destroyed everything. Good game. Really nice play. Stim starting, that good old 17-minute complete the stim timing. Even had a hidden expansion. I want to come back to the 6-minute mark. So here's some of the strategy decisions behind doing this. In short, this play is very useful because it forces our opponent to build Stalkers. Stalkers are really expensive early. Each one costs almost a gateway worth of minerals. It eats up your gas, so it completely botches all your tech. Most Protoss players will be trying to get away with as few Stalkers as possible, and this medevac is a way of saying, dude, you gotta build some Stalkers. So this attack, even though it did not kill probes, it did wildly successful damage in delaying all other tech. I mean, we have a Stargate here, but by the time we get to 9 minutes, we can see the effects of that in full force. I mean, these gateways aren't even really that far done. He's getting Templar Archives, which is a weird choice, but that's fine. We're still seeing that Sage has not really lost anything. Look at this. Units lost 2. Are those workers? Yeah. 2 workers have been killed thus far by GuMiho this game. And yet still at the 9-minute mark, we see the indirect damage of having to have built all these Stalkers early on. So that way when this push, when this push arrives, he's going to have the wrong units for this. Stalkers are the wrong units to have against this. Either wants Templar, Colossus, but all those are going to be slow. Cool. So we looked at a really basic opening. When we come back, we're going to look at another version of GuMiho doing this. We're going to go through it a little faster. We're going to continue to consult these timings so we can see, oh, there's some neatness there. And then we're going to look at a game where GuMiho literally does not do the really fast opening, and we see some cool changes going on. And it all relates back to these timing things. We'll be back. Let's listen to some Blue Sky. Black Death. Do 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 on a break.